On July 6th of this year, the coffee market did something it had never done in this entire century. Arabica futures exploded 16.2% higher in one single trading session. That is the biggest one-day price jump for coffee since the year 2000. And while traders were panicking in New York, you were calmly sipping your morning cup. Here's the uncomfortable truth. That price shock has not reached your supermarket shelf yet, but it is coming. And the timing could not be worse, right before the holidays. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly what happened and why you have a short window to act. Because the smartest coffee drinkers in America are already quietly stocking up. Let's start with what actually happened on the trading floor this month. Arabica coffee futures raced toward $3.50 per pound. That's a level the market had not touched since late January of this year. In one day, the price of coffee gained more than 48 cents per pound. To put that in perspective, that's like gasoline jumping 60 cents a gallon overnight. Now, futures are what roasters pay today to lock in the coffee they'll need tomorrow. Think of futures as an early warning system for your grocery bill. When futures spike, supermarket prices follow. Every single time, without exception. The only question is never if they'll follow. It's when. So what lit the fuse this time? One word. Brazil. Brazil grows roughly 4 out of every 10 cups of coffee consumed on Earth. Vietnam and Colombia come next in line. But nobody can replace Brazilian volume. And right now, Brazil's harvest is in serious trouble. In southern Minas Gerais, the heartland of Brazilian coffee, the numbers are genuinely alarming. By early July, only 30% of this year's crop had been harvested. Last year at this exact point, farmers had already collected 52%. Some individual farms reported running a full month behind their normal schedule. That is not a small delay. That is barely half the normal pace. Heavy June rains kept the pickers out of the fields for weeks on end. Wet coffee cherries can't be picked properly, and they can't be dried properly either. Then the weather flipped violently, from soaking rain to bone-dry heat almost overnight. That kind of whiplash raises serious questions about the quality of this year's beans. Damaged beans mean less exportable coffee from the single biggest supplier on the planet, and less supply with the same demand means exactly one thing for prices. Now add the second problem. The world's emergency coffee cushion is nearly gone. Certified Arabica stockpiles at the ICE exchange have been shrinking week after week. They just dropped to roughly 377,000 bags. That is the lowest level since March of 2024. Those certified warehouses are the buffer between a bad harvest and your grocery store. Roasters watch those inventory numbers the way sailors watch a barometer. When the buffer is full, a bad harvest barely moves the price. When the buffer is empty, every piece of bad news hits prices directly. And right now, that buffer is running on fumes. Here is the part most people completely miss. And it's where your opportunity lives. Futures prices don't show up on your supermarket shelf overnight. Roasters buy their beans months in advance, so there's a built-in delay. Historically, that lag runs somewhere between 3 and 6 months, which means the shelf prices you see today reflect the market from early this year, and those prices are already sitting at all-time records. In April, the average pound of ground coffee hit $9.72. That is the highest price ever recorded since the government began tracking in 1980, and that record was set before this summer's market chaos even started. Coffee inflation is running at 18.5% over the past year. That's roughly 4 times faster than food prices overall. July's spike, plus a 3 to 6 month delay, lands between October and January, right in the middle of the holiday season, when demand peaks anyway. The coffee sitting on shelves today was bought and priced before this new shock. In other words, today's expensive coffee may soon look like a bargain. That gap between now and then, that is your window. So here is how to use that window intelligently without falling into panic buying. Rule number 1. Buy ahead, but only what you will actually drink. A 2 to 3 month supply is the sweet spot for most households. If you drink 2 cups a day, that means roughly 4 to 6 pounds of beans. Heavy drinkers and bigger households should scale those numbers up accordingly. Rule number 2. Buy whole beans, never pre-ground when you're stocking up. Whole beans stay fresh far longer because less surface area is exposed to oxygen. Pre-ground coffee starts fading within days of opening the bag. Rule number 3. Storage decides whether this whole plan works or fails. Oxygen, light, heat, and moisture are the four enemies of roasted coffee. Keep the bags you'll open soon in a cool, dark cabinet, sealed airtight. For everything else, your freezer is honestly your best friend. Divide the beans into small weekly portions and seal each one as airtight as you can. Vacuum sealed and frozen, whole beans hold their flavor for months on end. Just never refreeze a portion once it is thawed. That ruins it fast. Coffee experts have tested this for years. Frozen storage genuinely works. Take out 1 week at a time and let it reach room temperature before opening. Rule number 4. Judge every single deal by price per ounce, not the bag price. Shrinking bags have quietly made sticker prices almost meaningless. The unit price on the shelf tag is the only honest number in the store. In today's market, anything around 50 cents per ounce is a genuinely fair deal. Warehouse clubs and large format bags usually beat the small bags by a wide margin. And when a real sale shows up, that is your moment to buy deep. Now, quickly, 3 mistakes to avoid while everyone else is panicking, because a smart buy in July beats a desperate buy in December. First, don't hoard a full year's supply, because roasted coffee simply doesn't last that long. Second, don't stock up on pods. You are paying a fortune per ounce of actual coffee. Pods can easily cost 2 to 3 times more per cup than whole beans. Third, don't gamble on mystery discount brands you have never tasted before. A cheap bag you won't finish is more expensive than a good bag you will. One more thing before you go, because this story is not over yet. Forecasters are now watching an El Niño pattern building in the Pacific Ocean. El Niño historically disrupts rainfall in exactly the regions where coffee grows best. Traders fear it could damage the flowering for the 2027 crop. If that happens, this month's spike was only the opening act. Stack possible new tariffs on Brazilian imports on top, and the risks keep piling up. Now, nobody can promise you prices will keep climbing. Markets can always surprise us, but every major signal on the board right now is pointing in the same direction. And remember, even if prices simply stay flat, buying ahead costs you nothing. So let's recap the whole situation in 30 seconds. Brazil's harvest is badly delayed, and the quality of the crop is in question. Global stockpiles just hit their lowest point in more than 2 years. Shelf prices are already at all-time records before this new spike even lands. And the futures market just posted its biggest one-day jump of the century. You can't control the weather in Brazil or the traders in New York, but you can absolutely control what's sitting in your pantry when the spike arrives. Buy smart, store smart, and let everyone else pay January prices. So the real question is, will you act while the window is open or after it closes? If this video saved you money, subscribe, because the coffee market is just getting started.